Everyone, welcome to Little Lovers channel. Today we're going to discuss about another very important work of James Joyce, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. Introductions of author. I already introduced James Joyce in my channel. Please do visit and subscribe to the channel. And let's go to the novel story directly. To the Joyce celebrated biographer Richard Elleman Joyce hoped that his portrait would be an autobiographical novel, turning his life into fiction. Because this portrait of the artist as a young man is famous as his own autobiographical novel. Main features of the novels are stream of consciousness and epiphany. Stream of consciousness, realistic descriptions, dialogues, and naturalistic passages. The voice of the author in the story is disappear from the text. So, small summary of the novels is like this. It tells the story of Stephen Dedalus, a boy growing up in Ireland at the end of the 19th century. As he gradually decides to cast off all his social, familial, and religious constraints to live a life devoted to the art of writing. Theme, theme of the novel: in order to become an artist, what we need is sacrifice here. And Stephen's decision at the end of the novel to leave his family and friends behind and go into exile in order to become an artist suggests that Joyce sees the artist as a necessarily isolated figure. Major character sketches in the novels are Stephen Dedalus, who is the protagonist of the novel, and Emma Clary, a young woman about whom very little is revealed here. Stephen gets infatuated by her beauty. That is a main character, and minor characters are Simon Dedalus, Stephen's father, a joker and merrymaker from Crook, who supports the Irish nationalist Parnell and distrusts the church. Mary Dedalus, Stephen's mother, the Dedalus children, Stephen's 9 younger siblings, who appear most often sitting around the kitchen table chatting and drinking tea. Next is Dante, Mrs. Riordan, Stephen's governess and a friend of the family. Mr. John Cassie, a friend of Simon's. Uncle Charles, Stephen's great uncle. Wells, a boy at Clongowes Ways who pushes Stephen into a ditch. Simon's Moonan and Tusker Boyles. These are some of the minor characters in the novel. This story is all about a person who is called Stephen Dedalus. So, Stephen Dedalus' first memories when he was 3 years old. His childhood story in the beginning of the novel, you can see her singing a nursery rhyme, which is very related to the family association, sensory perception, and pieces of conversations. It's happening in the opening scene, and then by the next scene you can see Joyce is presenting to us the genius of a future artist's perception and interpretations of the world. So before an early age, Stephen suffers poverty because his father get in trouble where they cannot able to survive, they are struggling to survive. Moving from Stephen's infancy to his early days at Clongowes Wood College, a Jesuit boarding school of boys, Joyce focuses on 3 key incidents, which is very importantly affect his personality. First incident, it's like a Buddha who get affected by watching 4 sceneries when he is out of his court or his provinces. In the same way here, for Stephen, he'd get affect. First scene, let's see. Stephen is pushed into an open cesspool by bullying classmates, and subsequently he develops a fever which confines him to the school infirmary. Here he begins to discern that he is different, that he is an outsider. Most of us feel like that, right? See, many things is going on in the mind of a kid, a child. So here, uh, because of our autobiography, we call this novel as autobiography. We can see what are all the things it's moving in the mind of Stephen, because it's in the mind of Joyce too, James Joyce too. Later, when he is probably 6 years old, Stephen returns home to celebrate Christmas dinner with his family and is invited for the first time to sit with the adults at the dinner table. This extraordinarily happy occasions is marred by heated political arguments between Stephen's old nurse Dante Riordan and a dinner guest Mr. Cassie, leaving Stephen confused about the issues of religion and politics in the adult world. Because he is a kid, he don't know what's going on, but just they are taking a discussions about it. On returning to school, Stephen accidentally, this is the third scene, breaks his glasses and is unable to complete his classwork. He is unjustly humiliated and punished by the cruel prefect of studies. But after receiving encouragement from a friend, Stephen bravely goes to the rector of the school and obtains justice. The success of this meeting instills in him a healthy self confidence and ennobles him for a moment in the eyes of his classmates. After a brief summer vacation at his home in Black Rock, Stephen learns that his father's financial reversal make it impossible to return to Clongowes Wood. Instead, he is enrolled in less prestigious Jesuit day school, Belvedere College. Here, he develops a distinguished reputation as an award winning essay writer and a fine actor in his school play. Despite these accomplishments, however, Stephen feels increasingly alienated from his classmates because of his growing religious skepticism and his deep interest in literature and writing. This feeling of isolation is intensified during a trip with his father to Cork, where he learns more about his father's weaknesses. Stephen becomes increasingly repelled by the dead end realities of Dublin life. So, just think what all the things is going on to make up a perfect artist. So, he is just get complicated, confusions and trouble, think, worried. Just see this Stephen's mind. Frustrated by the loss of faith in the Catholic Church in his family situation and his cultural bond, Stephen seeks to appease the fierce longings of his art. After wandering through the city's brothel district, he finds momentary solace with a Dublin prostitute. He is 14 years old and this is his first time experience after a period sinful living. He thinks it's a sin because it's out of the religion. Stephen attends an intense 3 day spiritual retreat. He is During that day, he feels that whatever he has done is sinful. And later, he believes that Father Arnali is speaking directly to him. Panicking, he seeks out a kindly old Capuchin priest, pledges moral reform, and rededicates himself to a life of purity and devotion. He fills his days with fervent prayers and takes part in as many religious services as he can. Noticing Stephen's exceedingly pious behavior, the director of the school arranges a meeting to encourage Stephen to consider entering the priesthood. But at the first, Stephen is flattered, fascinated by the possibilities of the clerical life, but increasingly he is tormented by carnal desires. He finally realizes that his inherent sinful nature makes it necessary for him to reject a religious occasion. Having made a discovery about himself, Stephen decides to enroll in the university, where he hopes to shape his destiny as an artist. This decision is immediately followed by a climatic epiphany. He sees a girl wading in the sea. To Stephen, she embodies the attraction, the promise, and the abandon which he wishes to experience in life. It is at this moment that Stephen understands that he can only hope to gain this experience through a life of artistic expression. When he sees the girl and get attracted by her beauty, he realizes struck her beauty and he realizes in the moment of epiphany that the love and desire of beauty should not be a source of shame. Stephen resolves that to live his life to the fullest and owes not to be constrained by the boundaries of his family, his nation, and his religion. He wants to escape from all these things, so he chooses artistic. Shortly thereafter, Stephen begins a new life as a young man in search of his own values and his own credo. Stephen moves on to the university where he develops a number of strong friendships and is especially close with a young man named Cranley. In a series of conversations with his companions, Stephen works to formulate his theories about art, while he is dependent on his friends as listeners. He is also determined to create an independent existence, liberated from the expectations of friends and families. He becomes more and more determined to free himself. He can fly above all obstacles and achieve a life as an artist. He compares himself to his friends. He seems antisocial and more concerned with pursuing his own interests than supporting the cause of others. Even Stephen himself realizes that unlike most of his friends, he is unusually introspective. He is not the typical devil-may-care university student. He rejects the typical blind patriotic blather, and although he continues to respect the Catholic faith, he no longer believes that its tenets should govern his life. Through conversation with friends and a dean of studies, Stephen eventually develops his own aesthetics theory of art based on the philosophies of Aristotle and Aquinas. Simultaneously, he concludes that he is ever going to find his artistic soul. He must sever all bounds of faith, family, and country. He must leave Dublin and go abroad to forge his soul's uncreated conscience. At the end, this I got it from the newspaper, written in a newspaper. In portrait, Joyce ventures inside that part of our identity for which no language it exists, probing into the space between what belongs to the individual alone and what is ours together, exploring the shifts of mind, the currents of our moods and feelings as they flow blindly this way and that, and mapping the unarticulated, more or less silent presence of the soul, that part of our inner being that arises when we are enthused and falls when we are afraid or despairing. Portrait is about this young man's soul, and what makes Joyce's novel so magical What makes it essentially literary is that his conquest of what belongs to the individuals all alone. What is special and to Joyce's mind unique about Stephen Dedalus is also a conquest of what belongs, and it's a unique to each of us. So thank you. Please do subscribe to the channel. At the end of the story, Stephen just moved away from his town